9 o'clock. We'll get going here. Good morning, everybody. My name is Catherine Edwards, and your leader for today is Candace Herman. We're both coaches for Niswonger, and we're excited to have you to join us for this session. It's preparing for personalized learning, and I'm here to support the session presenter, and who I've already told you her name. If you need any technical assistance, we do have the guru, John Payne, with us, and the guru's helper, Bethany Fillers. They'll be glad if you got any questions or concerns, just use the chat and they will help you. We will go over a little bit of Zoom etiquette in just a second. So, but welcome everybody, and you're going to like this presentation. So Candace, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, no pressure here, right? It's going to be like blow your mind, right? I know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not in the morning. It could be like life-changing for us. We'll see.
It will be.
I'm going to pop these closed captions on to like capture all of my rambling this morning. All right, here we go. All right, thanks, Catherine. So as she mentioned, we're here for personalizing or preparing for personalized learning. So I don't know, I hope that the title was clear enough for us, but this is really going to address mostly our mindsets that we have as we go into personalized learning. We'll review the principles, which we'll get to on the goals slide here in just a little bit. So you guys have probably already seen this page with the accessing materials, but the materials and resources that we'll use today, including this session slides actually, that'll be available to you if it's not already on the materials page. And it'll be like, I don't know if you can see my cursor down here with the materials. And again, John's taking care of a lot of this for us as well. So we know that the reason that we're here is for literacy and personalized learning. So we want to try to merge the two so that this is something real and relevant for our kids, and so that they're getting something out of this, and we hope amazing results at the end. And we know at the very least we're all going to work hard to try to achieve that. This is me. If you would like to chat about some of the things that you hear and some of the things that we discussed today later on. And then you have probably seen this beautiful purple girl. I know I was talking with Sean a minute ago, like at least 82 times by now, probably, with all the sessions that have been available. But I think I will actually go ahead and ask you guys to play around with this a little bit while I just review some of these things. My screen seriously looks like NASA right now. I have like so many things on it, so let me move this around a little bit. If you guys will see on your actual screen, like in the bottom center, you'll see that chat button. If you will, go ahead and click on that, and in the chat bar, just type in what your grade is or grades that you teach in the content area or content areas that you teach, just so that'll give us an idea of who our audience is and who our participants are. And speaking of participants, if you'll notice on this screen, on this image that we're looking at, you can actually move around, you probably know this, the videos of the participants, like if it's blocking your screen, like I'll probably be doing that like throughout, but you won't see it. And you can move around your chat bar as well, like if it happens to be blocking the shared screen that you guys will see with me. I think probably most of us are on mute. There are a few of us. We don't have a huge group today, but there are a few of us, so we'll probably go ahead and keep mute on if you don't mind, just so we can prevent feedback, or I don't know, if your house is like mine, dogs barking, kids hollering at you, whatever the case may be. So that'll kind of minimize that a bit. And wow, you guys are on it this morning. We've already got folks dropping in what it is, the grade and content. So yeah, it seems like we've got, of course, mostly middle grade. That's cool. We don't have just ELA through here. We kind of have a smattering of different folks. Oh, cool. We've got science in here as well. Some interventionists, excuse me, some SPED and social studies, and of course media. All right, cool. Thank you guys for taking just a moment to do that. Yeah, that just kind of gives us an idea of maybe how to frame some of the examples that we'll take a look at here in just a little bit. So the goals that we have set for ourselves today, I mentioned earlier that we're going to kind of review the principles of personalized learning. We won't go into real great detail about it. I mean, it's like the last week of VSI. Probably you have attended a few sessions on this. Real quick side note, if you haven't or if you just want to review, we've got all of the, well, we will have these on demand for you on that VSI page. So I'm even like going back through and I'm checking out some of the ones that I didn't have a chance to attend. So that stuff will be there for you guys. Excuse me. We'll spend the bulk of our time today thinking about and kind of investigating the mindsets and the impact that that has on our effectiveness as far as personalized learning goes. You know, how we position ourselves in relation to personalized learning or really anything, it really does have like an impact on what the end result might be. And then finally, the entry points, like, well, how do we like actually apply this? What's like the next thing that we're going to do? And so that might be, again, personalized for you as an instructor or as a coach, as an educator. It may look a little bit different, but we'll certainly have some suggestions and some entry points for us as we go on. All right, so we will take just a quick temperature gauge here. Earlier you heard me mention like what kind of craziness like life has been for probably all of us, at least. I don't want to presume too much, but at least for myself. So I apologize if like Disney is too juvenile for you fine folks in the audience, but I was quarantined with a 4-year-old little girl. So like this is my world right now. So here we go. You'll notice that each of these movies has a number associated with it. So I'm just asking you guys just to do this like low stakes just response here. Which Disney movie title do you think best represents your mindset towards starting with personalized learning or towards continuing with personalized learning? And if I'll go ahead and put this up for you. If you want to go ahead, if you want to go ahead and just put like maybe the number of the movie title in the comment in the chat box, that'll work. I will tell you guys, I know that you probably have attended like oodles of Zoom meetings, and I was going to do a poll for this, which you can do like when you get ready if you're wanting to like prepare for different meetings on your own. But it was suggested to me that there'd been recently a lot of glitches with that, I guess just due to the increased traffic on Zoom. But that is an option that you guys can have. That way, if you want to poll your teachers as you're doing, excuse me, any kind of PD or anything like that, you'll have some results that are more readily available to you. I think I can pull up chat here. Let's see what we got. Like, I will just confess to you guys, as you're still responding, like I've probably been like every one of these at some point, like full disclosure, right? Oh, look at you guys. You guys are a lot of you folks, these first commenters, you're feeling pretty good about this. Good for you. Got a lot of Meritas out there feeling pretty brave about something. Got some honest folks like, yep, gonna be a zoo. And then some other, okay. Well, I was just seeing if we had any Ralphs in there, any Wreck-It Ralphs. Like, we're gonna do it, by golly. I don't know what it'll look like, but like, we're gonna do this. That's cool. Thank you guys for responding in that. Again, this was just a real quick way for us to kind of quickly think, how am I feeling about this whole thing called personalized learning? And so we'll dig a little bit, excuse me, we'll dig a little bit deeper into that. This really just kind of primes us so that we can be thinking about how receptive that we are or that we can become to personalized learning. And plus, like Disney, right? It's cute. I don't know, maybe. So while we're thinking about learning here, I would ask you guys to think about these questions that I'm going to have listed for you. Be thinking about a powerful learning experience that you had in your K-12 setting as you think about this. So take just like a few seconds and kind of grab onto one of those memories, something that you think was really powerful for you in a K-12 setting. Okay, and now we're going to partner these questions with it. That memory, that experience that you're thinking upon, that you're reflecting on right now, how did you feel about the work that day? And again, you guys are just thinking about this. How are you different in that situation compared to most days or maybe even other class periods during the day? can we create conditions for these personalized learning experiences? So like, what was it about that experience that you're reflecting on that made it, well, memorable to you, that you thought that this was a powerful experience? How'd you feel about it? How are you different in that moment? And then how can we try to duplicate some of those elements? So you guys don't have to, but does anybody want to chime in on this? You can unmute yourselves if you like. You don't, it's early. You don't have to, but if you want to unmute yourselves, feel free to respond to this.
Candace, I think it happens sometimes, and I put it in the chat, when, teachers need to have a plan and know what their end goal is going to be. But sometimes when students pull you off when students kind of guide the learning and you maybe like come off script a little bit, that can sometimes be extremely powerful.
Yeah, so I think that's a very good point, Catherine. Yeah, we definitely want to have a plan and plan to the end. Also be prepared with that flexibility. And we'll talk about being flexible, not just with our seating, but with the environment itself. And that, I mean, we didn't plan that out, but that's a really important point for us to be remembering. All right, so just to kind of revisit these goals, remember the first thing that we're going to do, we'll take a few minutes and we're going to review these basic concepts of personalized learning. So you might think about this real short activity we did just a minute ago where I asked you to reflect upon prior experiences, learning experiences that you've had. Consider the context of that experience. And, you don't have to anchor our learning to that experience, but just kind of consider what made that learning experience not special, but what made it stand out in a certain way. So yeah, there was, like Catherine was alluding to earlier, when we kind of go off script, it kind of does allow us to personalize and kind of individualize for the audience, for the kids, for whomever it might be. So we'll take a look at, I'm sure you've seen this graphic oodles of times. I've seen it like oodles of times myself, but I promise you, like every single time I look at it, I'm like, oh, maybe that. So I'll just kind of gloss through this and give us a few examples and maybe kind of review the definitions, just so that, again, we can kind of frame our learning and really anchor what we're doing today with this. I'm going to start with learner profiles and then just kind of move around clockwise. So with learner profiles, sometimes we think about like maybe an interest inventory, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that we're partnering that with the data and that we're revisiting it like throughout the semester, throughout the year. We want to make sure it's not just dumped in a file somewhere. Full disclosure, I'm guilty of doing that first couple of years, but we want to make sure that we are revisiting it, because your data is going to change, but like your kids are going to change too, and that gives us something to kind of refer back to. Flexible learning environments. Remember, I mentioned this just a moment ago, the group of us were really learning that this isn't just like cool seating, like that's a part of it, but it really is being flexible in both the time and the place, like what the whole atmosphere looks like. And even like what Catherine was mentioning earlier, being flexible in our approach, like that ebb and flow, that give and take. When we move on to competency-based progressions, we're thinking about our standards here. Maybe you are a stronger writer than I am as a student. Like, we're still going to be addressing those same standards, but maybe my pacing is a little bit different from yours. I'm still achieving that proficiency, but like I'm maybe not on the same pace as you or the other kids that might be in the room. And then personalized learning paths, that's going to be something that is adaptive as well. So we're going to be thinking, I'm going to go back just a moment and let you eyeball that. So we're going to be thinking about those 4 principles as we look at a portion of this video from Flight Academy. And as we're viewing this video, we're going to be thinking about this question, this guiding question that's to the left. So where do you see elements of personalized learning? So there'll be a lot of stuff going on in it, some interviews and some videos of kids experiencing personalized learning. So we're going to be thinking, okay, well, what do I see, again, that is reflective of some of those things? So data and surveys, being flexible, the standards, and being adaptive. We're going to be looking at those few things. And Catherine, or really anybody else, if you guys can't hear, I think you should be able to hear the audio, but if you can't hear it, if you'll let me know in chat, that'll be great. Whoops.
Middle school, I think my biggest memory, walls, 30 desks.
A different teacher for everything and chaos in between.
Constant movement, constant shifting, one classroom to another.
So everybody did the same projects, you all had the same outcome of your project, kind of standard.
Pretty much sat there all day listening to lectures. I didn't like middle school, truthfully, when I was her age at all.
It was nothing like this.
We're not preparing today's learners for your future, we're preparing them for theirs. If we educate learners as though the future is predictable, we're shortchanging them. That we need to prepare them for a future that will feature rapid change and will be unpredictable.
If it keeps going, don't take it out. Wait till it stops.
Why do we ask kids to just sit in a room and listen to one person for hours on end and expect that they're going to be able to take something away from it? If we can engage them in the experience and have them be an active participant in it, that's really when we're going to start to see change happen.
Since becoming a mom, I've realized that all kids have special needs, and I want those needs to be addressed on a daily basis. I want them to be able to learn what it is that they're passionate about and what they love. We can't talk about history without talking about science. We can't talk about history without talking about math. All of these things are interrelated.
Krista Crowder and I had been teaching on the 7th grade team, so I approached her and I said, I think I want to do something different. We really spent a full year in development of trying everything from how we teach to setting up physical space to furniture within a space. It was really that collaboration that built this idea of what are we going to do. The Flight Academy stands for Facilitating Learning Through Integration, Guidance, High Expectations, and Technology. We are a specialized program within a traditional middle school.
I want each kid to be setting their own goals, knowing what they want to work on in all of their different subject areas, and really having different paths for each one of our students.
Learning is like a different thing for every single person. At Flight, they have high expectations for us. They give us high school work sometimes, and it's kind of crazy, but they challenge us in a way that we're trusted with a lot of responsibility.
I have advanced humanities since I wanted to grow more, as I'm a writer and a reader as well.
The one-on-one advisor is like a conference. We have it every week where we get to talk about like what I've been working on and see how far I am in a certain thing. Probably right here on the
Yes, good idea. All right, thanks, Logan.
The role of educators in that environment is subtle, it's nuanced, but it is constantly supporting the learner as opposed to demonstrating the expertise of the educator. That it is all about learning, not just about instruction.
Getting to a structure and policy change might take some time. Getting it right in the forefront with students today is a huge benefit to our system during this time of transition. And for the most part, everything we're doing happens at the local level. It's where the best decisions are made, it's where we have the greatest source of impact. And it's really where ultimately the user is, or our student.
That's it? Yeah, that is it.
I believe our department does exhibit empathetic leadership, where
4 walls, 30 desks.
Hold that for just a second for us. So I asked you guys to be thinking about these elements of personalized learning. So there's some things in there that we would have seen. And just for kind of time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and bump us over to the question here that's asking us to take what we just viewed in that short clip, and we want to try to apply it to something that we're going to see or that we want to hope facilitate or create in our own classrooms here coming up in this fall or whenever. So this says, what is personalized learning to you? So once again, we're thinking about that video, some of the stuff that we saw in it that reflected elements of those 4 core principles. And we're going to look at this 4 corners activity. And I'll blow these up for you in just a moment, enlarge them so that you can see it a little bit better. But I'm giving you some think time right now to just look at these and ask yourselves which of these best represents personalized learning. So you'll see like A, B, C, D. And then also, how do we know? So we're thinking about the video. There was some stuff in there that was personalized learning. What did it look like? How do we know? And then we're going to take a look at some of these images as well. And again, I'll enlarge these for you. So as we eyeball these, we're just asking ourselves, is there something in this that reflects or that represents personalized learning? And how do I know? We're just thinking about it right now. And then, okay, and Arnold's John Scott, yeah, I'll go ahead and check out your comment. B and D, yeah, I hear a lot of B and D. B and D best represent personalized learning because you can see students working on different tasks or in small groups. So maybe the stuff that's going on in B and D is maybe more visible to us than maybe something that's going on in A or C, or maybe there's not any personalized learning in A or C. And again, I'm just asking, I should have like prefaced this, like this is not a quiz, like this is not going like anywhere. We're just asking ourselves, what do we see and how do we know? Why do we think that that might be personalized learning? Yeah, and then Lori is echoing this idea like, well, it really depends on what the task itself is. Yeah, and that really goes back to purpose. I was like, as a classroom teacher, I wondered when I had administrators come in sometimes, like if they just did that walkthrough, like where the kids happen to have a device open, I would think, do they know that we really are, like they really are on task and we really are doing something besides babysitting here? Because like even in C, which truthfully, like in the last session I didn't get selected a lot either, like this they could be working on their own pathways within these devices here. This could be a part of a Socratic seminar in which these kids are having a discussion about some kind of content. And in A, I'm wondering, you guys can feel free to keep commenting if you want. I'm just kind of chiming in here to fill in some gaps. But in A, some other folks have said, well, maybe those kids, they don't look in this frame. They didn't look as engaged or as active as maybe these kids in B and D did. But again, to go back to what Lori was saying earlier, like it really depends upon the aspect of personalized learning as she phrased it, and it really depends upon the task itself. So we want to think about the purpose of why we're grouping these kids the way we are, the purpose of plunking down devices in front of them, and even like the reason why we're having them get up and move around. So we know that there's going to be research to support each of those. We just want to make sure that we are trying to use those elements and those principles whenever it most supports the kids' actual learning as well as the instruction. And so the purpose impacts the degree of personalized learning, and this of course is influenced by the assumptions that we ourselves have about personalized learning. So to kind of revisit that idea about the assumptions that we have, we'll take a look at the second bullet point that we have. So we're taking a look, remember this will be like kind of the bulk of our work today. The way that we position ourselves so far as our beliefs and our values, what we believe about personalized learning, what we value or not about personalized learning, that's going to color what we see this thing becoming. That's going to influence our effectiveness, like what this thing actually ends up looking like. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at a text rendering protocol. And Catherine, I don't have my chat pulled up yet, but if you don't mind, would you care to drop that that Google Doc link into the chat for everyone to open if they don't already have it? And you guys see here, you got a QR code. So if you have a mobile device and you want to just go ahead and pull it up in that way, that's fine too. You'll have a couple of articles available to you here in just a moment. But I just want to go through the protocol while Catherine is dropping that link into the chat for you guys. So text rendering, to render something, we want to take it from the bulk of it, and we want to kind of reduce it to its most concentrated form. And the way that we do that with text rendering is you guys, again, will select one article. You'll pick one sentence that stands out to you or that resonates. Like if you had a hard copy, it might be like something that you would highlight. A phrase, so reducing it from a sentence to a phrase, and then finally to a word. And so this again is a protocol. This is an activity that you guys could do with your kids, and you may already be doing it with your kids. For us, for time's sake, you guys can just like maybe copy and paste or select a word or a phrase. You don't have to do the sentence, the phrase, the word. For us, we're professionals here. But like if we had more time, and especially if we had the opportunity to meet in person and write these things down, that's probably how we would approach that. All right, so once again, text rendering, you select the text, the kids, you pick a sentence, a word, a phrase that really resonates or stands out to you. And so these are the articles that Catherine, I believe, has dropped into that chat for you guys. So you'll just pick one of these. If you select the first one, the 6 tips This, you can see, this is like entry point. So if you're like, okay, I'm probably ready to go ahead and start thinking about how I want to unroll this thing called personalized learning. Like I want the 1, 2, 3 of what I want to do. If you're like, meh, I might need a little bit more convincing here, then you can take a look at that second article if you like, the assumptions article. So if you just want to look at the part the little section that is titled the power of assumptions, then that would be enough for this, again, just because of like time constraints. So I'll give us like 5 to 7 minutes, but I really don't think it's going to take us quite that long. So you'll select an article, pick out a sentence, word, or phrase that stands out to you, and you'll drop it in chat. Before I get this timer going, do you guys have any questions about that rather lengthy explanation? Okay, I'll go ahead and get this started then.
Candace, we may need to repost that link.
I see that. Catherine, do you care to post that again? I think that was sent to everyone in the waiting room. Okay, so now you guys have like 6 links from this is the same one, right? Thank you, Elizabeth and Lori, for calling that to our attention. Appreciate that.
Should be back. Sorry about that. I didn't notice the waiting rooms. I'm sorry. It should be
We
there
like
now.
attacked everyone with that link all at once. Sorry about that, guys.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, we got it. Thank you. Again, you guys may not need these remaining 3 or 4 minutes here. So if and when you do finish with your article, either reading it carefully or skimming through it, you feel free to contribute to the chat that we've got some folks already dropping some comments in. I'm going to pause this timer for just a little bit. I think I've tried to respond to most of the comments that are in the chat. If I overlooked you, I'm so sorry. So many good comments and observations kind of flying by there. I'm just going to kind of scroll back through just in case you might still be taking a look at your article or just kind of figuring out how you want to phrase anything if you do want to drop it in the chat. But yeah, you guys are like either just like intuitively with it, or you've done like 100 of these PSI sessions and you kind of have your brain sort of wrapped around personalized learning. So you guys really pointed out some important things: ownership, voice and choice, self-regulation, I think relationships, and maybe even rigor was mentioned a couple of times. Yeah, looking at Lori's credits and grades tell us little. We might need a little bit of something else to kind of partner with that. Yeah, and Lisa really touched on this, like key phrases, keywords, like students can create students. So yeah, we're seeing this is not new information, I'm sure, to you fine folks. But yeah, students are going to be at the heart of everything that we do. And I mean, I hate to reduce this and make it sound like, well, this is just intuitive and it only makes sense. I mean, yeah, that is a part of it. We certainly have all kinds of research to go along with this. And this actually, we're all part of this grant is really part of research as well. So we're really contributing to that body of research, which is kind of exciting. So thank you guys for chiming in on that, on taking a quick look at that. Just a real quick reminder, this activity, this protocol that we all participated in, like this is a part of what's reflective of personalized learning. So you guys were able to take a look at your choice of whichever article you felt like maybe resonated most with you. And then we all did the same kind of response, the same kind of excuse me, activity here with the actual rendering of the sentence, the phrase, the word. So we all got to contribute in a similar, the content, but we got to have a little bit of choice and voice in that as well. So that might be something for us to remember as we move forward when we're trying to design some of these activities to pull our kids in for personalized learning. So it sounds like, again, you guys have a pretty open mindset, really, which really isn't surprising. I mean, you're here today again in the morning. But I just want to encourage you guys, like these mindsets that we have, way to go for you guys for being so positive about it. The next couple of slides that we're going to take a look at, these are some very real mindsets that some very brave teachers these last couple of rounds were willing to share out with us. So if any of these resonate with you, know that you're in good company. Good teachers, this is what they have had to say in the past about personalized learning. So you'll see on the left hand side we've got assumptions, and then the right hand side is kind of like building on that. So some of us thought, well, I think I'm kind of maybe sort of doing personalized learning because I'm giving like interest inventories at the beginning, like, you know, a getting to know you kind of activity. And that's great. We want to make sure that we're just partnering that with our data, because like we mentioned earlier, kids are changing throughout the year. Their data is always fluctuating. And so we're always looking for, patterns in those charts and in that numbers. We're also looking, you know this, for patterns in those kids and their behaviors, what's going on with them, because those two things, when we look at that whole picture, that gives us a better idea of what we can do and where we can be to meet that kid where they are. And then so for technology, you know, this is something that we're learning, that schools and districts are learning, that technology, it is there to support you. It's there to support your kids and your needs. It's not a substitute for you. Like, again, I feel like a lot of this is, some of this is obvious, but I'm just going to say it, like, that computer, that program, that whatever, like, it is not going to take the place of you as a teacher. You are the single most impactful person in that room. And so that Chromebook, it's going to support your ability to make your classroom flexible, to provide those pathways, to make sure that we have different ways of those kids achieving those competencies. But it is like in place of you. And so stations and flexible seating are a couple of other things that we've talked about, like this first round of rural life with personalized learning. So we just, again, this goes back to what a couple of you folks were saying in the chat earlier. It goes back to like the purpose. Like, the kid sitting over here on a beanbag, like, what's the reason behind that? What's the purpose of that kid sitting there? For stations, they're getting up and moving around. What's the reason for them doing this? Are they doing a stack full of worksheets every time? Like, what are they exactly doing? What's the reasoning behind that? And again, that's just good reflection, and that's part of good teaching. And so this next one, this one is like the realest one that I think that we'll probably see here, because this is an adoption year, and this is like at the front of everybody's brains right now. How am I supposed to personalize something first for like over 100 kids that I have in my classroom? But also I've got like this district adopted stuff, this textbook that is being given to me. Like, how am I supposed to personalize something that I feel maybe as a teacher that might be scripted? And so what we want to do is we want to kind of bend that mindset and think, okay, so we have this existing curriculum. Maybe this is a good thing, because now, guys, you won't have to spend, what is it, like the average, like 47, 87 hours a week on Teachers Pay Teachers and Pinterest, like creating your own, trying to make your own curriculum. So that time that we would have been spending trying to forge this curriculum as best as we could with ever fluctuating conditions around us, now we can use that time to actually spend more time working on those relationships that we have with kids, spend more time thinking about how we can personalize this, make this relevant, make this real to our kids. And so that might be something for us to think about, again, as we're trying to bend that mindset to, it is this, what if it could be this? And then this last one that we'll take a look at together here, yeah, I can't do that. Personalized learning, like my kids can't do that. I'm not sure I can do that. So let's brace ourselves a little bit. You know, we're really, I hope most of the time we're really quick to, try to accommodate to kids, but like, let's maybe try to do that for ourselves as educators a little bit, like you're a person. So what if we give the kids the support that they need? Like, and I don't mean to suggest we're not, but like, where are they? We want them here. Where actually are they, and how can I meet them there? So like, if I'm trying to like get healthy, if I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to like get my cholesterol level where it needs to be. I have a doctor's appointment soon, guys, side note. So I'm not where I need to be, but like I'm taking steps to be where I need to be. Like I've got that ultimate goal in mind, and so we can do that with our kids too. Like as long as we're making progress, I mean, really, what else can you ask of a person truthfully if they're like trying and they're moving toward that goal? So with these goals, we're thinking about what Daggett has told us about rigor, relevance, and relationship, which I think is really cool. You guys actually mentioned this in chat before we ever even got to this. We want to meet our kids where they are with the intention of taking them where they need to be. We want to make it real so that we're not doing this weird isolated thing in school where we're like playing school with these skills and stuff that like really isn't that transferable. So we want to try to make it relevant to that kid. And that's part of knowing that kid. And then relationship, that's obvious enough. We want to make sure that, again, that we know that kid in a way. We know their interest. We know enough about them so that we can make this real for them. And then finally, like, just start. Just pick something and go with it. A lot of times we're type A people, and we want it to be like perfect from the get-go, and that's amazing if you can make that happen. Like, write that book. If that's the way your life is in the classroom, yes, do that. But for the rest of us mortals, like, we probably just need to think about that do something principle, where we are looking at our data, we're looking at our kids, we're looking at where we want to be, we have those goals, and we're like, all right, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to try this. And it might look a little weird and it might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but when you get that momentum going, that is what is going to keep you going, because the change is connected to your behavior, and like that kind of becomes like your identity. So like your identity is no longer, my kids can't do that, I can't do that. Like it starts to become, I'm going to work on doing that. I've not achieved it yet, but I'll hope to. Oh, and also you're warm fuzzy for the day. Like you can do it, guys. So before we can really like get to making this beautiful thing happen, we got to be real about it for a minute and think about what obstacles might actually stand in our way. So this is the part where like we get a little bit vulnerable. I'll go first though. think time. We're just, at this point, guys, you're just thinking about this. Because again, this session really is, it's for you. So as you're thinking about personalized learning, and there might be like that little hesitation, like, I don't know, maybe, kind of. What is it that you feel like might be holding you back? What is it that you are afraid of that's standing in your way? We're thinking proactively, okay, as I'm working towards my goal, what kind of things might happen that might hinder that might impede my progress? Yeah, thanks, Catherine, for that comment. And then, whoops, sorry about that, guys. This last one, how do I sabotage? How am I getting in the way? Like me, myself, how am I getting in the way of this? I want to give you just a minute just to kind of think upon it. Yeah, I see some comments here where Catherine is going ahead. She's chimed in, like maybe addressing like classroom management. Yeah, Lori, like, okay, how do I make this something visible and concrete with grading and with rubrics? Yeah, and Tanya, if there's so much going on in a class, how do I manage this? Just the time. I feel like, yeah, the pacing of it. Yeah, and Paige is echoing Catherine's comment, like, yeah, control is a large aspect. And not just, I mean, that we're control freaks, I mean, maybe a little bit, but like that's not the main thing. The main thing is like, yeah, you want to have law and order and control in your classroom so that you can create that environment where you're not just teaching, but where kids are actually learning. Oh yeah, oh, here we go, Elizabeth, time. There you go, and the number of kids. I'm telling you what, Elizabeth and others, like every single PD I think I have ever attended in my life where they show me like a sample like vision of what this perfect classroom is, I promise you the first thing I do is I start counting the kids like in that video, and I'm like, if there's not 36 like crazy people in that classroom, I'm like, next, you show me something that is relevant for me. So yeah, I see this time issue as being a factor here. So maybe one way that we can address that is trying to feel as prepared as we can, which is, why we do, part of the reason that we do lesson plans, because whenever we can feel prepared, I don't know, maybe it's psychological, and it gives us this illusion of control. Like, I think I mentioned to you guys earlier, maybe before we actually started the session, that I had gone on vacation a little while ago, and a couple of weeks ago, and I'm packing for my whole family, and like I've been packing crazy stuff, like 16 pairs of socks. Like, we went to Florida. No one wears socks in Florida. I packed ponchos. I have literally never worn a poncho before in my whole entire life. But like the fact that I was trying to prepare for what might happen, it made me feel more at ease about the whole process. So I don't know. We're going to talk about ponchos a little bit and think about being prepared. So let's take a look at, I'm going to kind of breeze through, if I can, this next, because you guys are like go-getters and just kind of like jumped right on this. We kind of already addressed what our greatest fear was: the number of kids, classroom management, time. So maybe we can take a look instead at this one, and we can use that chat as an opportunity to say, okay, but what if it works? Like, what's my greatest hope as I try this thing called personalized learning? So take just a minute, and again, we're bending that mindset. We're acknowledging the stuff that might stand in the way. But now we're thinking about, well, what if it works? It would be cool if, and then fill in the blank. Thank you for that comment, Lisa. I love that you're like, the first thing that you want to say is that kids are excited about coming to school. And Lynn, yeah, we want to, maybe we can learn something while we're there. They're growing academically. Yeah, Lori, and what if like all these choices, what if these kids are like, I don't read, I never read. Like, what if this choice helps them to realize I do actually like to read. I just need to figure out what it is I enjoy reading about, and then they kind of like fly with that. Yeah, that would be cool. Oh, I love that, Elizabeth. Yeah, what if the staff in the school came to talk about how the science students explain a topic to them? Yeah, because they're so excited about what happened in class that day because it was personalized and relevant to them that they like could not wait. That is an awesome thing whenever kids are like, they cannot wait to tell you what just happened in the last class period. Yeah, Catherine, I think I might have had a similar reflection as well. Like, what if they decide they want to continue learning on their own? You're going to have some, you probably do already have some of those kids like that. Like, you, maybe to build on what Catherine was saying earlier, you do go off script a little bit, and then that inspires more learning, and then the kids pick it up. Okay, that's personalized learning. Yeah, when the kids are the ones that they are taking the direction, they're taking charge over what it is that they want to learn. I don't want to be dismissive of someone's issue up here. I think that someone had talked about worrying about what they're, Catherine, maybe what they're learning. Again, not to ignore that fact, but that, that they're so excited about what it is that you presented to them, and that the way that you offered that you facilitated that learning, that they themselves want to continue on. That's cool. You guys feel free to go ahead and keep commenting if you would like. I'm going to go ahead and move on, but I'll check out those comments in the chat even after this session just to make sure I'm not overlooked anybody. Thank you guys so much for commenting. Really good thoughts this morning. Like, I'm impressed that we can have like any kind of coherent thought early, but like, good for you guys. All right, so speaking of mindsets, that's like why we're here. Again, this is kind of the bulk of the volume of this particular session. So I've got Carol Dweck up here, and so the thing about mindsets is they're not concrete. Like, we like to think that what we believe, our values, that identifies that's who I am. I'm bad at math. I've always been bad at math. I'm always going to be bad at math. Except maybe you're not. Except maybe the power of yet hasn't come into play yet, and you don't quite realize, like, oh, maybe I'm not the best at math yet, but I'm going to take those steps. So with regard to personalized learning, like, I'm not the star example of a teacher of personalized learning yet, but I'm keeping my kids at the center of everything that I do. I'm using research and data to support what it is and why it is that I'm doing with them. And so maybe this isn't like yet, but I'm on my way. And so we want to remember those words of Carol Dweck. And I've also got this reminder up here about the growth mindset continuum. And it is a continuum. I mean, look at the arrows. We're kind of going like, yeah, it can kind of go fluctuate back and forth. And that does happen. Like, sometimes, I don't know, maybe, thinking back about the temperature gauge you guys did earlier with the Disney titles. Maybe you're feeling pretty good about it, and then some days, we know this is just realness. You'll walk into the classroom and you're like, what have I done? Like, it is just not happening today. And that's part of that growth mindset continuum. And the point of it is, though, is that we're always moving. Like, we want to be moving towards yeah, I did it. But we're always moving. We're always reflecting back, because that power of reflection, it truly, not to be redundant, but it really is powerful, because it helps us think back upon what we've done and what we want to do and how we want to get there. So speaking of the ways that we're going to get there, we'll take a look at the end of our session here, the last few minutes, at the entry points for planning personalized learning. So, like, what are the actual applicable things that I can do in order to make this thing happen? And so, just as a review, once again, we've got our learner profiles. So what we know about our kids with their data, with their responses, who they are, being flexible both in time and place, thinking about those standards and the different pacing, and also being adaptive to the way the kids are responding, the way that they're showing that measure of competency. So mindset, again, is going to be connected to our perspective. So we'll take a look at this quick activity, see, think, wonder activity. And again, this is something you can do with your kids. There's an image here, and I'll reveal it like quadrant at a time. And typically, just so you know, typically the purpose is to allow your kids to have that mental break, but also be able to do some deep critical thinking. Ours is going to be a pretty simple illustration, but I did want to give you a little bit of context in case this is a protocol or an activity you think you might want to do. So we'll have, again, like a block of an image revealed at a time. And as we're doing that, we're just thinking about what it is physically that we see, maybe making some inferences, what you think's going on, and then questions that you might have as these are revealed. So again, just for time, I'm going to kind of move this on a little bit. So some of the things like physically that we might be seeing, I see a screen in the back. I see an adult. It's a good sign. A lot of kids in this section of the room. I see numbers hanging from the ceiling. So I see that. I think maybe they're doing station work. I wonder if each kid is going to every station. So those are some questions I'm thinking as this arises. I'm thinking it looks like a lot of kids. So as I mentioned before, I'm probably on board as a teacher when I see a million people in a room because I think that's my life. Yeah, I see another person, an adult in the back here. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up chat here, guys. Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Kids are up out of their seats. Yeah, they're moving around. If you guys want to, you can either unmute and speak if you'd like, or if you're more comfortable with chat, you can do that instead. And maybe respond to one of the I wonder. Yeah. I thought so too, Elizabeth. I thought, I see like a couple of adults. So is this is like a co-teaching situation? Yeah, Kara notices increased engagement. Maybe that would contribute to a positive culture. I know, me too, Elizabeth. I'm like, I want to know what the square footage of that room is. Like, how did they squeeze all those people in there? And is this like a day-to-day thing? Like, I wonder, do they do this every day? I'm wondering if I'm a classroom teacher, like about classroom management, like how are they making all this happen? Catherine, are there any other comments in that chat I've overlooked that you've noticed?
No. There was one about the kids seem to be talking to each other, and nobody looks like they're confused or misbehaving. They don't look off task.
Yeah, and that's a lot of
They're,
again. Yes, Sonia, that's a lot of kids. Yeah, so yeah, because there's a lot of kids, I'm definitely interested in how did you make this happen to where they all seem to know what they're supposed to be doing. I noticed the adults too, Lisa. Yeah, are they like assistants? Is this, it's got to be co-teaching? That's the things that I'm wondering as I'm going through this image. And so again, like the purpose of our doing this is so that we can be thinking about what do we see, but also we're considering like our mindsets. Like as I've shared with you, like I want to know how many people were in the room. I want to know how you did this. I want to know your 1, 2, 3 of how you did this. That's like my mindset. And so our purpose of looking at this is we want to be challenging those mindsets, or at least questioning them, so that we can address this question here. So this is really important for us and for you today. So thinking about what we've looked at, what we have reviewed with personalized learning, what we've talked about with our own mindsets, what we believe, what we value or not about personalized learning, and then also the next steps that we can take. What do you guys think, you as teachers, you as educators, what do you need in order for personalized learning to be successful? Again, you can unmute or use chat, whichever you're more comfortable with. What support do you guys need?
Candace, I would say that to have a plan for small steps, one step at a time, I think the first thing you should know is identify the gaps in your students and just think in terms of just small steps or chunks and let it grow within your teaching plan every day.
Yeah, thank you for that, Catherine. So yeah, just like in that See, Think, Wonder activity, we looked at small pieces of that classroom. Think about small pieces, small steps that you can take, like just that one small thing. Catherine, thank you so much for mentioning that, because this can be quite overwhelming when we're thinking about it. But yeah, that's an excellent point. Like, pick something. Like you said, like, take a look at what your gaps are. What's like the thing? I know as a coach, that's something that I worked on a lot with a lot of the amazing people I had the opportunity to work with this past round. Like, we can't do everything. We had read, I think it was 180 Days by Gallagher and Kittle. Like, you can't do everything. Let's pick something. And again, we'll apply that do something principle. And I'm just skimming through to make sure I'm not overlooking any comments right now. Yeah, Lori, thank you. Understanding that chaos doesn't mean that they're not learning. And conversely, compliance doesn't mean that they're learning. Like, it's okay to have a little bit of noise. I'll tell you what, I was on the other end of that. I had to have a really fine administrator one year. He had to explain, like, it's okay for them to make noise, Candace. Like, as long as they're on task. So I think that's important, Lori, yeah, that other leaders understand it's okay to move around and be a little noisy as long as we are achieving something. Oh yeah, Elizabeth, thank you so much for mentioning that. Like, it's probably like burning in our brains, but like, yeah, thanks for saying it. Give it a little time. Not coming in after one day being like, so we fixed everybody. Yeah, like, yeah, you need some time a data dip is a real thing. Yeah, you guys have made some excellent observations here. And so know that as your coaches are working with you these upcoming years, like, there'll be opportunity for you guys to have those conversations with your admin, but there'll also be opportunity for you. Like, if you feel like you need some examples of modeling, or if you would like that coach to sit down with you to go over planning, or maybe even talk about like classroom management, that will be a way that you guys can utilize your coaches as you're thinking about what to do with those plans in the upcoming week. So thank you guys again for contributing on this. Really good thoughts. This slide here, you guys, is just a reminder of that link that was in that doc that Catherine and like 6 of us dropped in chat earlier in the session. This is just something for you to anchor your thoughts, so that if you leave this session and you're like, what did that chicken June have to say about personalized learning? This will kind of be like a quick cheat sheet for you. If you choose to use this or not, that's really up to you. And so these are some of our takeaways as we are wrapping up today. We're thinking about our mindsets, like where we are with this. Are we feeling good about it? Are we feeling anxious? Are we feeling like, I don't know, but I'm willing? It seemed like a lot of you guys were, again, Merida, you were brave at the beginning, and then some of us were not, and that's fine. You got to recognize where you are so that you know what the next step is to be where you want to go. And speaking of that, that helps us to plan ahead. When we anticipate, you know yourself, when you anticipate the obstacles that you think are going to be the thing that kind of trips you up, like, plan for it so that if and when it does happen, you at least can have addressed it. Not that it has to be like perfect, but at least you will have a plan of action for it. And then speaking of that plan of action, your entry points. I love, again, what Catherine had said earlier, like, take a look at those gaps, take a look at what you know, what you think about your kids, and use that as your greatest leverage point, so that lets you know what it is that you want to do next. And so we have just a couple of minutes here, maybe. Okay, we don't have a couple minutes. Maybe we have 2 minutes or so. But again, we wanted to kind of reflect on this a little bit. This is for you guys. If you would like, if you don't mind, to drop something in the chat, I think that would be helpful to all of us. I know it would help me and the rest of us here at Real Life. At first, I thought something about personalized learning, but now I think blank because blank. So like, I'll tell you what, I'll share mine out, and you guys can drop this in the comment or unmute if you like. It's like, as a classroom teacher, at first I thought personalized learning meant I had to do like an IEP for 114 kids, like personalized, right? But now I think that this is more holistic, this is more conceptual. Now I think I probably can actually do this because this is rooted in relationships. And I feel like that was a strength of mine with my kids as a classroom teacher. So at first I thought this was going to be too much work and I can't do it. But now I think, like Catherine mentioned earlier, I can actually do this because this one thing that I'm pretty good at, I can build on that. And so you guys think about that as we wrap up. I'll give you like maybe 60 seconds if you would like to contribute something to chat or unmute, and then we'll wrap up with evaluations. Oh, I don't know if Catherine's still with us, but thank you for that comment. If you are, Catherine, that really means a lot. I appreciate that.
Oh, okay. Candace, do you mind if I go ahead and tell them how to wrap up?
Go right ahead. I'm trying to get to the slide. There we go.
You did a wonderful job, Candace.
I think this group did a great job.
Yeah, it was a fun session. Well, thank you for attending this virtual Summer Institute session. We do need that 1-minute survey. I think most people have done this. And this allows us as a group of people to reflect on your thoughts about the session. And we always look for ways to improve. We're lifelong learners. We collect the information. If you want to get a certificate for attending, go to this slide, and John Payne will will get that to you. And if you have any questions, I know Candace will hang on for just a few minutes. And Candace, anything else you want to say? Mr. Payne will put that link in the.
No, I'm leaving some messages to you guys either individually or in the group. No, I just want to thank you again. I could have been like talking to myself for about an hour or so, but you guys were great about participating. I do hope this was purposeful to you guys. I mean, I know like we're required to get hours and all that fun stuff, but I really appreciate you guys participating. And again, I hope this is something that you can take away and use with you. You guys feel free to contact us at Rural Life. Like, even if we're not your designated coach, like if you have any questions or concerns about anything, we are glad to work with you guys. Thank you all again so much. Really enjoyed it.